Yeah, righty. Welcome to Real Tart. And I've got to say it again. Well, it doesn't matter, does it? It's a vacuum. Nobody's listening. Nobody's watching. Nobody's seeing it. But am I going to stop doing it? No, I'm not. What do they say about the definition of madness? You keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But I don't think it's quite like that. I'm sure somebody will pick it up sooner or later. Having said that, so I put a post on my Facebook page. Now, I don't really like social media. I've got to tell you, I don't like it. It's horrible, right? Sometimes it's a force for good, like if they're looking for some bloke or some woman who's driven off in the car in a fit of pique and they're worried about her, putting that out on Facebook or something. It can often help to find that person and bring it to a satisfactory conclusion. Not always, though. But anyway, so the thing is, I don't really like it, but you got to use it. Certainly in my job, you have to use it, right? So what I did was I got on my Facebook and I said, hey, listen, I'll resurrect a Real Tart. I explained a little bit about what it was. And I said, listen, get on there and subscribe, right? So I've got 114 friends on Facebook. Are they really friends? Most of them, no, I'm sure not. Anyway, the point is, since I put that up, I've had an increase in subscribers of two people. I don't know who they are. Probably they're not any of these 114 friends. I know I haven't got many friends really, given that most of them are probably not real friends. But how bad is that? How bad is that? All they've got to do is subscribe. What do I mean to them? I don't mean anything, do I? Really, it's a simple thing. Just get on there, subscribe. No. Only two. And they're probably, as I say, not even those people. They're probably just random people from Azerbaijan or something like that. Anyway, so that's one thing. I'm going through this thing at the moment. I really need to get out of this job. I mean, look, I haven't talked about it too much. Well, I've talked about it a bit. People I work with, zero respect I get, zero respect. I've run teams of 30, 40, 50 people before, right? No problem at all. I've got two people here now. Don't respect me, think I'm an idiot, try and pick me up on things all the time. It's depressing as, right? You can put up with it for a while and kind of avoid it and just get on with doing what you're doing because I know what I'm doing. But it's corrosive. It's corrosive. I've used that word before, but it is. It eats away at you, Anyway, that got me thinking about, well, what am I going to do now? So I've got to get out of it, right? But I've still got to earn money. I'm getting on a bit, and there's no way if I apply for a job that I am going to get that job. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I'm too old for it, right? I'm just too old. People are not going to consider me. You might think, oh, he's pretty lively, actually, and he's got some ideas and he talks pretty eloquently and all that. There's not a job for me. There just is not because of my age. Nobody's going to do it, right? So what do I do? Because I've been thinking it through, obviously. What do I do? I've got to do something that's going to make me earn money. This is not it, is it? Let's be honest. And writing books, I've tried that. Creative, right? Doesn't work for me, does it? It's not making me money. So what am I going to do, right? It's a real problem. Anyway, it made me think about, going back right to the start of my career, with when I was on my journalism course. This was in 1977. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's like another century. Well, actually, it is another century, as it happens. And anyway, there were about 16 of us on the course, 15, 16, something like that. And I've kept in touch with a few people, two or three people. And anyway, one of the people who was on the course was this guy, Adrian Brown. So anyway, you might know him because he became actually. Anyway, I'll tell you about that. I don't want to spoil it, right? I don't want to spoiler. Oh, also, I've got to stop touching my ears and things, haven't I? I noticed I was doing that a lot the other day for some reason. I don't know. Like I've said before, maybe it's a sign of a liar or something. I don't know. Deceitful person. Oh, somebody maybe doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. Anyway, here's a point about Adrian. So he was on the course, right? Good looking bloke. I mean, not that I'm into blokes. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I mean, if you're into blokes, that's fine. Okay. I just don't happen to be, Anyway, good looking bloke, no two ways about it, right? Lovely guy, actually, you'd have to say, And but it didn't gel with him, the course, right? I had a bit of that as well, to be perfectly honest. I've got to tell you, it's a funny thing. So I'd left school, left home, to go on this course. I used to go back every weekend, though. Absolutely. Never went to parties on the weekend. No. Always went back to the parents' place down in Wales. That's another little story, maybe. But the point is about it is that, yeah, I had a headache for the 6 months I was doing the course. I think it was like, I don't know, it was an introduction to work, which is one thing. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I shouldn't have been a journalist. I don't know. Maybe I've missed my opportunity and should have been an archaeologist or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, point is about Adrian. He wasn't doing well on the course, right? He was making a lot of mistakes. He wasn't happy about it and all of that. Anyway, he said to me, he confided in me, and he said, look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go see my dad. Right. So his dad, and this was back in the day when newspapers were really powerful. His dad was a foreign correspondent on the Daily Express, right-wing newspaper, right? And they lived in Paris, I'm sure that at the time the paper paid for all the accommodation and all that stuff. Anyway, the fact is the guy was like top of his field, and all this sort of stuff. Adrian went there, and anyway, I'm going to tell you another story about Adrian first. So before he came to the course in Cardiff, in Wales, he was living in Paris. And he was going out with this girl, this French girl called Sophie. Now, Adrian was about 16, right? Yeah, I think he was about 16, but he always looked older. He's a tall bloke. He was good looking, as I've said, and all this sort of thing. And Sophie was about 24 or 25. Now, at that age, that's like a world of difference, isn't it? You wouldn't think about it now. I mean, if I wanted to go out with a 16-year-old, no, we won't go down there. I'm not going to do that. But, well, I wouldn't have the opportunity, would I? Let's be honest. But anyway, let's get back on track. So he was going out with Sophie, right? And he'd go over there in the evenings, and they were having a full-on sexual relationship, right? He told me this story. Anyway, she was crazy in bed, apparently, and used to get really, really worked up. Anyway, well, they're having sex one day, and what she did was she scratched his back as they were having sex, like really badly, like he'd been flayed, Anyway, so he goes home, and his mother, well, they're sitting at the breakfast table, right? His father's sitting there. His father's reading a Daily Express, so it's a classic British scene in Paris. He's reading the paper, got the paper in front of him. Adrian's sitting there eating his breakfast, whatever his breakfast was, probably a croissant or something. And his mother is doing toast. And his mother says to him, Adrian, your shirt has got blood all over it. And Adrian goes, yes, that is Sophie's pussy. And he said that, and then his dad kind of slowly lowered the paper and looked at him, and then slowly put the paper back up again. And his mother's apparently told me this. He said she was noisily buttering the toast, and she said, That's Sophie's pussy must be some crazy, crazy animal. And he said, yes, Mum, indeed it is. And his dad, again, put the newspaper down and then just gave him a good wink, right? And that was that. Anyway, that's another story. So he went to Paris, Adrian, to talk to his dad about what he should do about the course. And he explained to his dad how he was doing and the mistakes he'd been making and all of that. And they sat there, I imagine, in some kind of a study. And his father was probably smoking a pipe or something, and had his +4s on, whatever, And his father listened to him quietly and didn't interrupt, obviously, unlike me. And Adrian said, what should I do? And his father leaned back, apparently, and he did this with his chin. And I don't know where the pipe was then. I don't know. And he said to Adrian, he said, have you ever thought of crime? And Adrian was like, no. And he said, well, maybe you should. Because that was his advice. That was his fatherly advice. Anyway, the good news is Adrian went on to be a well-known TV presenter, which was really his milieu, it's where he was comfortable, obviously, right? He looked good, and he was a tall guy, works on screen and all this sort of stuff. And he had a good career. I think he's retired now. I haven't talked to him in many, many years. He probably wouldn't even remember me, you know. But anyway, good for him, right? He made it. So what he did was actually, after the course, instead of going on a newspaper, I think he went back to Paris and he managed to get a job by blagging it, right? He totally lied. He made it up. Said he'd got all this experience and he got a job doing radio. I think it was radio in Paris. And then that he was good at it. He was super at it. You know, he's such an affable bloke. You could talk to him, you know, and he'd draw you out, right? And so he was very, very good. And then he ended up on TV. I think he was on Sky in the end. And, you know, as a news reporter, I've seen a couple of his reports, you know, over the years. Good for him, right? So it's kind of worked out. Anyway, this comes back to me. What am I going to do? Crime? Do I turn to crime? Yeah, maybe that's the only answer. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. But yeah, I can't take too much more of the lack of respect thing. It is corrosive. It bites away, it eats away at you. And there's my ear again. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm not going to whinge on. I don't like to be like a moaning mini about things, you know. But yeah, I've got to try and think of something. I don't know. Maybe crime is the answer. Who knows? Anyway, that's it for now. I've got my potatoes in the oven, as it were. I'm doing roast potatoes. I've got 2 sausages, which I part cooked, I suppose, the other day, which are from Archie's Butchery in Hungary. And yeah, so I'm going to have those and a couple of eggs. I reckon that's pretty good. I was going to have baked beans, but I don't want to overdo the vegetables. So anyway, there we go. Look, if you're interested, subscribe. Anyway, I'm not going to go through it all again. You have a good evening, good afternoon. Oh, the other thing is, if you're in Britain, for God's sake, vote these bloody Tories out. Do you know what? I'm not going to go on about this too much, but I was reading an article. It was in The Guardian, fair enough, but it was about Birmingham, right? Birmingham is the UK's second largest city. 50% of the kids in Birmingham are on the poverty line. What the hell is that about? Also, because they don't have any money, the council doesn't have any money. The austerity thing that David Cameron kicked off and his mate George Osborne talked about this the other day a little bit. What it's meant is that council's gone bust. It's gone completely bust, right? Like many councils in Britain. And if you look at it in Australia, that just doesn't happen, right? It doesn't happen. But anyway, and they've closed libraries and they've done all these things. They've closed swimming pools. We've talked about this a bit before. I talked about it to my non-existent audience, but the thing with it is, so they're only picking up rubbish once every 2 weeks, right? Rather than every week. They're turning off the city's lights at night to save power, to save money. How ludicrous is this? This is dreadful. It's sad as, right? And all of this is as a result of having these numpties in for 14 bloody years. So people, you got to vote them out. You know, another thing. So in Britain, you don't have to vote, right? You can choose whether you want to or not. In Australia, you don't have that option, right? Everybody has to vote over the age of 18, right? I personally think that is a very good idea because you get a government and it's elected. You cannot turn around and go, well, I never voted. I didn't vote for them. Well, most people did, mate. So you just have to put up with it, right? It's a good system. And the other reason that everybody should vote is because people literally have died to get you and I the vote back in the past, right? They've agitated for it. They've pushed for it. You know, some of them have died, right? We need to honour that at least, you know. So get along there, vote the bloody Tories out. Am I being too political? Maybe. They've got to go. It's unbelievable. You know, get somebody in who's actually going to do something pleasant, who's actually going to improve the damn country. World's 6th largest economy, you know, and it's just in such a bad state. It's dreadful, dreadful. Very sad for me to see from afar, let me tell you that. Anyway, listen, I will go now. Because no doubt the potatoes are burning. All right, have a good evening, good day, good morning, and yeah, just take care, right? Take care. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. We all want to be back here tomorrow. All right. I want to see you. Yeah, I know there's nobody. Anyway, have a good one. All right, and yeah, I'm going to end this so-called stream, and we'll go from there. Right, here we go. Goodbye.